recordings are sent or posted to a YouTube channel that I manage, and I will send you a recap that covers a bit of what we are discussing today with a handful of notes included, as well as a link to the recording that will take you to the YouTube channel where you can watch a bunch of other stuff and other classes as well. So don't worry too much about taking notes because as I just noted, you guys will get some included in your recap. All that being said, I am going to go ahead and get rolling. The first part of this will be generally just kind of like a short lecture. And then I have a video that I put together as an example to show you guys at the end to end this class with that will kind of drive home a few of the points that I was discussing. So to get started, for anybody that doesn't know me, my name is Anuj. I am the field marketing specialist here in Santa Cruz and Monterey County. And virtual open houses and tours save a lot of time for both the agent and the buyer. Virtual open houses let buyers reach more properties in more places and by way of various platforms to show the tour live or a recording, either by websites, Facebook, Instagram, FaceTime, what have you. It shows, it allows the agent to reach potential buyers while saving the consumer time and money that would normally be spent repeating in-person tours or open houses. And it also allows you to capture leads, create new content, and build your brand, better generating your online footprint across multiple platforms. Because virtual tours are popping up on business listings and real estate websites, more and more consumers expect them. According to Google, majority of people want virtual tours today, and 67% of consumer participants that were surveyed say they want virtual tours of some kind when looking at a listing. So when we're talking about tours, there are two different things that you can bring into account. There is the traditional video that you can pre-plan, shoot, and then utilize as a part of a marketing strategy to advertise the property and again yourself as a brand and business and what you're like to work with. The advantages there are obviously that it's not live, so you have the ability to edit and cut and make all the necessary pre-planned changes or alterations that might need to happen after the fact with a recording. Or you can go live. I would still recommend, the pre-planning process remains the same. The difference is the act of going live with a tour or an open house creates far more traction algorithmically within a lot of these platforms, specifically like Facebook and YouTube. Top studies have shown that consumers are almost 200% more likely to engage with a video versus a static slideshow. So the advantage of going live or having that recording to reuse to advertise that listing gives you a huge amount of engagement with the consumer base. And once you're done with that live video, the beauty of it, if you're using most platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, etc., will give you a recording of that live event. And what we'll talk about a little later on is in that planning stage, you essentially run that live event like a segmented series. So you would go from start to finish and then start back over at the beginning for the amount of time that you are running the tour. Now, again, from algorithmic perspective, live tours, you want to be on for at least a solid minimum of 90 minutes to make sure that you have enough time to engage with all of the systems and have had enough time for your consumer base to reach out and engage with that tour or opportunity that's happening, whatever the case may be. But when you're planning these things out, you essentially have a series that you can then cut that complete video down to and have a working version of the tour that you can then repost in the same strategy that we would talk about for a recording. Before we kick off into what that kind of plan looks like, there's a quote from one of my agents that I like to share in these classes that I think really drives home the engagement factor of these things and what consumers are looking for. And he says that they don't care about what you look like or even necessarily what the production value looks like. And what they being the consumer want is transparency, they want authenticity, and they want the real you to show up and provide relevant information about the home that they are in, but also the community that they might be thinking about moving into. Over 50% of buyers find their house online, and of those 50%, 90% of them still used an agent to make their first purchase. So a virtual open house is a huge opportunity, like I said, not only capture leads, but advertise yourself and your brand and engage with a consumer on a real level. So that way your potential buyers and sellers know exactly what it's like to work with. And anybody that's worked with me before has heard me say people hear with their eyes, and you can show your consumer how you operate in a way that will endear them to you so much more than the standard slide presentation or discussion that you may have will. Moving into what that planning stage looks like. Again, anybody that's ever worked with me, you hear me talk a lot about workflow. I'm big on preparation, I'm big on process, and just like anything else that I work with my agents, it all starts by having this built into a larger strategy for your marketing. Utilizing Listing Concierge, for example, allows you to then have a certain amount of that, like if we're talking about strategy for a listing, right? A certain amount of that strategy is now planned and in play through that system. So you'll get your photos, you'll get a commercial, you'll get all this good stuff, online exposure that you can leverage. Now, what can we do to get that extra step beyond that? So the first step is planning out what that listing marketing sequence will look like. And again, I bring up Listing Concierge in his example because it's been a great way for us to get agents to start thinking about these things in more of a calendar mindset, right? So if you've got the paperwork and the contract signed on a Monday, and you know that you can purchase this order on a Tuesday, what does the timeline need to look like for all of the collateral that's coming out? The television program runs about 3 weeks out from the photography turn-in date. Is there anything that needs to happen to the property before that photography can happen? You guys know the drill, right? A calendar has to be built out to map out what's happening for that listing. And the same approach needs to be taken not just to the marketing collateral, but to all of the marketing related to your brand. And virtual open houses and tours are very much a part of that. They're a way to, like I said, advertise you as a business and your knowledge base of the market, but also your knowledge base of the community. For potential sellers, it allows you to advertise why the place and the residence therein is so great and the perfect buyer's opportunity. And for buyers watching, it is a great way for them to see why you are that long-term partner to work with in real estate, because you have that clear connection to the community you operate in, and you're the go-to individual that I can ask those questions about. So it starts with knowing the home and the area that it's in. Make a room sheet. I'm a big fan of that. Just put it on paper, draw a small floor plan of the property, get there ahead of time, do a walkthrough, and understand how long you'd need to describe the property, what's the shortest amount of time you can get that information communicated in, and what does it look like if you're, again, if you're planning a recorded video, how do you want to move through? What are you going to shoot? What do you need to have completed? Have all of these, like a shot list planned out, have a almost like a tiny business plan for the shoot. If you guys are very new to this kind of stuff and you do have questions, reach out to your FMS, or you can email me directly when you get the recap from me and you want to kind of dive into a little bit of a bigger discussion on these things. But it should be nothing new in regards to thinking about how you're planning this out. This is something that you guys have probably done for different kinds of listings all the time, but now it's just the thought process of, okay, what room am I starting in? What facts am I bringing into play? And have notes for each section of the house you're going to show on camera and what you want to say. I'm a big fan of making sure, and you'll hear in the video that I show as an example at the end, if you're going to talk about 4 points about the home, make sure you say one thing about the community. As you're making all of those preparations for what the talking points will be in regards to the home and the community that we're discussing. What you want to make sure also is you've got the proper equipment in play to make this look great. Now, you don't need any fancy cameras. Most cell phone cameras now are better than a lot of cameras that you would have been able to purchase 10 years ago anyway. So they really do a fantastic job. The video that I will be showing you guys at the end of this session is at the end of the lecture part of this session was shot on an iPhone. You can shoot them on Androids, anything that you like. What you really want to have is what's called a Steadicam or a some kind of a stabilizer. I'll include in the recap some really good options that are low cost, effective, and available on Amazon. One of the ones in that bundle is something that we used. What it does for you on a presentation level and from a consumer standpoint is add that air of professionalism to the shoot. It makes it look, from amateur to pro, and it also adds what it sounds like a sense of stability to the shot. So there's no what's known as that handheld effect. If anybody watches action movies or war movies, you know the difference between looking at a camera on a fixed tripod versus that handheld camera when you're in the thick of everything, and the kind of unsettling nature that a handheld camera can give you. You want to avoid that and have the focus be on your voice and the home that you're trying to show off. Second, you want to be conscious of light. In the video example that I am using, we walked through the home and my skin tone allowed us, with the natural lights available in all of the areas that we were shooting, not to have to worry about me being washed out on the image coming into the camera. However, in the testing, if you find that that's the case, there are a couple of great options, again, that I will link in the recap that I will send you of varying costs, but all very low cost, to allow you to get the ring light or a box light to use with your camera to make sure that you come through in a clean and visually appealing manner and don't look washed out. And more importantly, that the property behind you doesn't get washed out either. And lastly, you want to be conscious of your voice. Now, in the video, you'll see me in a mask and with all of the appropriate accoutrements to make sure that I can alleviate from my consumer's mind any kind of worry in regards to how I do business during the pandemic. I'm following all of my county guidelines, and as a result, I'm talking through a mask. My voice has enough bass and projection to have come through very clean on the built-in microphone for the phone I was using. But again, that might not always be the case, and even for me, that's not the case for every home that I go into. Figure out if you need a lapel mic. Again, I'll link to a couple in the recap. If you need an external microphone that you can clip and run to your phone, or if you wanted to use like a wireless earphone or an AirPod or something like that, always do those kind of tests ahead of time. Have them pre-planned, have the bullet points ready, know what you're going to say about the home, the community, and find key points to drop knowledge about the market in that chain, right? The goal, again, of anything that you're doing with these listings, like with Listing Concierge, the goal is to advertise you, the agent, pretty aggressively to the market around the property and in that community. This is another point that you can leverage that and make sure you plant all of those good seeds during that rehearsal. Both buyers and sellers can take deep interest in you and your business through videos and tours like this, and they're a great entry point as well for new consumers as a part of your digital marketing strategy. There are tons of great education courses that are happening from the education team that kind of talk about the lead funnel. I'm a big fan of Targets because I'm a little bit more familiar with them. If think about a series of concentric circles, these kind of videos, especially again, when we're talking about what you have after that initial, like if you're doing a live tour, right? You get that recording back, you cut it, and you can repurpose it as a part of your marketing strategy through the month in a way to capture new consumers where they are. Some people may only find you through your Instagram. Some people might find you through the website. Some people might find you through your profile on Zillow. Some people might find you through Facebook. We want to make sure that every part of your strategy, especially something like this, that very much leans heavily on what you do and how you operate and can be an entry point for consumers to be available everywhere a consumer is. But a part of that strategy is trickling it out appropriately and having it calendared out. Well, if I'm doing it Facebook Live, I will have the video ready and edited at the end of that live tour, maybe 48 hours after the event. You can plan then to email that out to your sphere and let them know maybe during that live tour, have it mentioned a couple of times. If you're a part of my mailing list, you will get an emailed recording of this along with all of the information about the home that you would need within 72 hours of this tour being complete. If you're not a part of my mailing list, make sure you head over to my website and sign up, right? Now we've built in a great call to action to drive your consumer back to your website. That'll be a part of that recording that will be trickled out then from 72 hours going to your sphere to then the next day being posted on your website in its entirety to and maybe being co-posted on YouTube, because that's the platform that we're using to house all of these videos online. So you can premiere it on YouTube and then a week later upload it to your Instagram, and then the following week upload it to your Facebook. Again, as an example, as a way to get 4 weeks of collateral out of that one video or that one live tour. Just as you would market a traditional open house, right? This is the same kind of thinking. You want to, if you are going live, or if you've built a video that you're going to premiere, either option works the same. Utilize your CRM. If you're using InTouch, blast your sphere. Remind them that they can follow you on Instagram, on Facebook, on whatever social channels that you are operating on to be up to date about your recent real estate business and this specific home. Or if they want information about the community at large, right? Because again, you need to build that as a part of your strategy to speak to your consumers. What keeps them coming to you in between those transactions? It's your knowledge of the community, your connection to that community. We have a Home for Dog event going on right now. And in my region, specifically in Monterey, there's a digital adoption event, right? There's ways you can, if you're doing a tour right now, make sure you build that stuff into your discussion, because it's happening right now and it can drive traffic back to you. So build all of those things into how you advertise the either video or the tour date to your consumer base. And again, as that trickles out online, let's say going the live route, if you're doing it on Facebook Live, email that link when you do that initial blast and remind your consumers that they can set themselves up for a reminder, they can register, they can follow, etc. And let's say the live video is planned for a Friday evening, and send that first blast out on a Monday. Then make sure on Tuesday you do an e-blast to the agents in your office, or have the SSA or FMS remind some of the neighboring offices about the tour and if there's a buyer available. If you've got, Wednesday, make sure you hit your social media channels. Remind all of your consumers and potential new ones that you've got something available. Great example, one of my agents in Santa Cruz, Willie Eagleton, just dropped a video tour. The property has a trampoline, so he had the creative idea to shoot a video of him talking about the home while he's jumping on the trampoline. It's exciting, it's a little chintzy, but it grabs consumers' attention. It's short, and if you're genuinely interested in moving to Santa Cruz, you're going to end up following the page, or at least going to the page to see the full video and find out about this house, because you found a creative and a consumer-friendly way to engage them on their level, or remind them about the fact that a tour will be happening later. In his case, it's a pre-recorded video that's been made available on the Instagram, and it's a way, it was posted last week, and it's a way to use a new video this week to get extra legs out of that video last week. I know I'm harping on that, but it's an important part of that strategy, right? Building in a cyclical calendar so we can continue to drive that traffic from every single avenue we're dropping it in back to your website, which is the hub of your business. It has everything about your real estate business and stuff about the community that you can be sharing there as well. Make sure you do update your website. acknowledge the virtual showings and update MLS, again, treating it just like a actual open house or an actual tour. Plan to the best of your ability what you're going to say during that live event. Like I said, have those notes tapered out and know what you're doing with the video afterwards. Like again, like I said, have that in a plan to market beyond the initial event. Practice truly does make perfect with these things. Don't I think I want to stress, don't expect it to be perfect right out of the gate. And I think from a consumer standpoint, it's endearing to watch that growth over time with an agent that you're working with. So always run this kind of stuff by your field marketing team. Reach out to your friends, your family, and have them work on this kind of stuff with you. In the video, I'll talk about kind of the process for an actual event. Since I was doing a video, it was only me and one other individual there, and that's as bare as the skeleton crew needed to be. For live events, you're generally going to need about 3 people. You're going to need a camera person. Obviously, you will be there discussing the property. And I recommend having a additional individual to work a laptop during the event. That laptop, again, using Facebook Live as an example, could field comments or questions that are coming in and be directed to you. So again, the event itself operates much smoother and you have to do less work in editing that video after the fact. You can just cut it when you start to go through the whole tour again. Using, Teams or Zoom as an example, that third person could manage breakout rooms. So if you're doing private showings and you've got multiple people lined up or multiple people signed up for a tour that day, you can then have it allows you to just be the agent and be your brand, and that extra aid of an additional person will help you avoid any additional technical gaffes running back and forth. With all of that being said, I'm right on schedule. I'm going to go ahead and show my video example. It's going to reiterate some of the points that I was talking about in the lecture half of this section, but it'll kind of walk through a home tour that I did and bring up a little bit of what I was talking about so you can see it in action and get an idea of what the finished product could potentially look like. Now, I edited this in Adobe Premiere Pro. I do teach a class about that every now and again. There's a recording available on the YouTube channel. Adobe is not a software included in the Coldwell Banker suite. You would have to purchase it on your own. However, it is not the only editing software available. This is a very simple edit that I put together. It can be done with all different kinds of programs. So again, if you want to do that homework, reach out to your field marketing specialist, and they can help you out with some of this kind of stuff. And again, I've housed my video on YouTube. YouTube 100% should be a part of your marketing strategy, especially in regards to your digital footprint. YouTube is owned by Alphabet. Alphabet owns Google. Google is the largest search engine in the world. You are not playing the SEO game properly if you are not constantly utilizing a YouTube channel the same way you are the Instagram or Facebook channels in regards to your brand and business. Specifically, if you're using Listing Concierge, you've got tons of great commercials that you can upload right to that channel that can plug information for you and help you, again, play that SEO game to guide people looking for that listing or listings in that area back to your website. Before I dive into the video, I did see a question pop up into the chat that I can answer very quickly. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. It's basically a description of how patented web crawlers from search engines like Google or Yahoo or Bing search websites for keywords to promote pages on their platform. So a simpler way to say that is the better your SEO rank is through your digital footprint, the higher chance you have of showing up at the beginning of a search when someone types in your name. Now, a lot of you guys will immediately see that if you search yourselves on Google, the Coldwell Banker page for you pops up right away because Coldwell Banker is paying for SEO optimization behind your name with our brand. So the important part of leveraging YouTube and these open houses on a platform like that, and again, like I talked about, building into a strategy so it gets posted on Instagram, Facebook, and a trickled effect through the month, is it leverages all of that extra bang that you're getting from Coldwell Banker for your name already to bring up all of those other channels to the Google search, using Google as our search engine example, right to the forefront. So now, not only when people are searching your name will they see just the Coldwell Banker page, but they'll see that, your website, your YouTube channel, your Instagram, your Facebook. A consumer will know right where you are. Plus, your images will populate as a part of the image search, and your YouTube videos will show up if someone sees videos, or if you're getting enough traffic right in that Google search itself. So that should answer the SEO question. And I'm going to go ahead now and jump into the second half. The lecture is done, so I get to stop talking. And we'll look at the example that I created that goes over everything that I was just talking about. And then at the end of that video, I will open up the floor for questions, guys. So here we go. Let's just minimize these. Hello. Welcome, everyone, to 17590 Crossroad here in Salinas, California. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Anuj. I'm the field marketing specialist here in Santa Cruz and Monterey County. And today, we're going to review some best practices, tips, tricks, and kind of fundamental technique when thinking about presenting both open houses and live tours. All right, so what's the agenda today? I'm going to kind of walk through both how the video and tour is structured and what you want to think about consciously while doing these kind of walkthroughs. The first thing you're going to notice, I am following all the guidelines that are necessary in my county to alleviate any kind of consumer needs or concerns in relation to how I conduct business. Don't have any questions raised that are unnecessary, and don't put yourself in a spot where those questions need to be raised. Make sure you do everything handy, meaning having a mask on. And you'll notice I'm taking time to make sure both my voice is coming through in a clean and precise manner, as well as putting a little extra emphasis to make sure my diction comes through clear, as to not mumble or confuse anybody while trying to talk through a mask. Again, like I said, we are at 17590 Crossroad here in Salinas, which is the salad bowl of the world. It's a little fun fact for you guys. Per acre, we grow more food here in Salinas than any other part of the planet. Always have little great tips that you can share, both about the home that you are touring and talking about, as well as the community that it resides in. It's important to stress that you're not just buying into a series of wooden planks and stone, but you're buying into a community and a space where I, your agent, can be a valued resource in helping you guide and navigate this community into places that are in it. Here we have the home. I'm going to highlight some of the basic details before we walk in. It's got 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, 2.5 acres, a barn, a wonderful fire pit area kind of place in the back. It's got great fresh air, a beautiful breeze. You can probably see hitting my shirt as I am talking. Highlight the things that you can be descriptive and imaginative with, right? Insert a bit of character here, insert a bit of yourself. Talk about things that you can imagine doing. I'd love to have a horse out here, grow my own food, be able to grow tomatoes, zucchinis, peppers, all the good stuff. And let's go ahead and walk in and talk about what this place looks like as a home. Good afternoon, everyone. welcome back from our commercial break. If you forgot, this is Anuj. We're talking about 17590 Crossroad here in Salinas. Make sure you Google that, find the address on ColdwellBankerHomes.com. Plug yourself, plug the brand. I'm going to take a quick moment to pause. Obviously, I talked earlier about the importance of making sure you alleviate any kind of subconscious concerns regarding our pandemic from your consumer's mind by following all the rules based on your county's guidelines for how to deal with this pandemic. But I digress. What you want to also use this opportunity to do to brand. I work for Coldwell Banker. I'm wearing a Coldwell Banker mask. You guys can order these from CB Store, but I also would stress take the opportunity to get something like this that includes both the brokerage logo and your own personal branding as well. If you got something from Design Concierge made, leverage these moments. That's what a brand is for. That's why you see the Nike swoosh on everything they make, because they want you to know where it comes from. The entire time I'm talking, you could be looking at my branding and logo and thinking about who you should be buying your home with, or more importantly, what we're building through this video is the perception of what it's like to work with me and who I am as a person and as an agent. So we get all kinds of marketing approaches that we build into this one walkthrough and video that can reach a worldwide audience and let them know what your brand is like to operate with, what it looks like visually, and so it sticks with them whenever they think both questions about real estate and questions about the community you just were operating and walking in. This is the beautiful living room. You can see we've got, if any of you guys watch the Food Network, I'm a big fan of Alton Brown's Good Eats. So it's cooking awesome stuff on a weird thing like this. You can have one of these in your house if you were to so choose and find a location just like this. You know, again, insert some of yourself, insert some of your character, walk through the home and have fun with it. Now, the difference between a live walkthrough and a recording is like what you just saw. I was able to cut something that went poorly, like my booty falling off, and jump now into my next point without missing a beat. There's no muss, no fuss, and this recording is obviously tailored to focus on both marketing the property and marketing myself primarily as an agent to anybody that is watching. Live is where you really stress the team aspect of this. I obviously am not operating the camera myself. I have a camera person with me that is also following social distance guidelines, wearing the booties, wearing the mask. But if I were live on, let's say, YouTube Live or Facebook Live or Instagram, whatever the platform you are using, I have the additional person here. We will have a laptop set up. Let's say for this example, I'm using Facebook Live. As questions, comments, things like that come into the space, I have someone that's able to vet and check those and bring them up for me. That way I don't have to worry about any awkward pauses or slip-ups as I'm walking through the home. Because the beauty of a live is like what I can do here. If we get questions, hey, someone wants to know specifically what's going on in this space. Well, we've got 2 bedrooms. You've got your master suite. We're gonna get a bit of echo as we move into this part of the house, so I'm gonna try and adjust my voice accordingly. You'll hear my watch go off. It's a good note to remember you mute all of your devices when doing these kinds of tours and walkthroughs. As we move into each specific room, you're going to want to make sure your cameraman always pushes back off of you, and you step back out of the frame, continue to push back, so we can get an idea of scaling in whichever room you are in. I am just about 5'10", 5'11", and you can see what I am like to move around in this space and how my height fits every room that I walk in. It just kind of helps with the dynamic. Plus, it gives your viewer a good idea of exactly what space they are looking at. And if, let's say, going back to my discussion about live, we get someone that asks, hey, what was that door you passed
in the hallway. I can say this door that I passed, just because the question wasn't super specific, this door is a closet, and this door is a half bathroom. It is one of the bathrooms included in the 2.5 I mentioned earlier. Right there. Got another bedroom there. And again, the big difference is if I were live, I couldn't just go off the cuff like I am in this example for the class, because I don't have the ability or the, I should say the comfort of being able to jump back, edit, and reshoot something. You want to have a series of bullet points tailored out for what you're going to highlight for the house. And I always stress, if you're talking 4 bullet points about the region of the house you're in, 1 about the community that the home is in. So, we just talked about the living room, talked about a couple of the bathrooms. Did you also know that Salinas was the home of former Nobel laureate John Steinbeck? And the Steinbeck Library is one of the coolest assets available to residents of this town. Big fan of libraries. Y'all should grab a book and enjoy it in this lovely kitchen that has been recently remodeled and has an induction stove. Not a huge fan of induction stoves because you don't get the fire, but you get a lovely stove, oven, you got a dishwasher. Again, highlight things, insert yourself, and most importantly, in regards to a video, if you're shooting this after the fact, this is where I would take time to cut from the talking head portion and go to what we would call coverage shots. I would, as you can tell in the edit that you're watching, you're listening to my voice talk over several shots of the kitchen we're in, as well as the bonus room that we're walking into. That includes a sink. It's got awesome half carpet, half fake tile kind of floor going on. It reminds me of what my ideal man cave would look like. You put a big old TV on this brick wall because you know it wouldn't go anywhere. Get some really nice chairs right here, or you can just get a projector from the ceiling. Got great supports with this giant beam running through. I mean, it's a fun spot, right? It's a fun space. And more importantly, right, in a video wherein you are cutting stuff together, I can either keep the audio I'm recording live and use it as a map over for while I walk through the space, or you can always dub audio after the fact. What you want to have planned out both in the ahead of time before you're doing your live video and just to make your life easier when shooting in the space that you're going to operate in is know how you're going to walk through each of the rooms, where the camera needs to be, where you need to be. And I think it's important to use this time. We talked at the beginning about how I talk and enunciate and make sure my diction comes through clear and effectively, even through the mask. I'm doing this because we tested everything and we discovered we didn't need me to wear a lapel mic or any kind of AirPods or earbuds or anything like that, because it was indeed coming through clear enough, direct from the source as we walk through each of the rooms. Now, that will not be the case for every home you are in. So it's important to test run all of these things before you go through your property and you're walking room to room like you would, treating that camera like it's the client that you're showing this home to. You've got all these pretty views right outside. The other thing you can't do live that you can do with a pre-planned video is make sure you can cut your cameraman out of the mirrors and allow the person watching the video to truly feel like you're talking specifically to them as a client and not to anyone as a whole. This is the last bathroom upstairs. It's got a lovely shower curtain of the world. Feels like home, doesn't it? And that's what we want to do, is we make these places feel like home, try and tell a story about the community that we live in, and the way we would utilize this space or can see your clients utilizing this space in the future. Whether you're a single rancher who wants to grow their own self-sustaining environment in this wonderful abode, or you want to raise a generational ranch and utilize the 2.5 acres to build a family and build another, utilize the barn for something or other. You can do whatever. It'll be your property. Have your dreams, have your fun, be yourself in these walkthroughs. And again, live or not, once the talkthrough is done, once the property has been shown, you can take this video, condense it, and repurpose it across multiple platforms to make sure you're leveraging it as a part of your marketing strategy. And that's the big thing that we want to think about, right? What do each of these tours, open houses, walkthrough showings, how can they have multiple effects and be used to, what the real purpose is, to advertise you as the agent who should be both used by someone who needs to sell in this space because you care about this space, you know it, you love it, and you live it. Or you want to represent someone who's trying to buy in this space and who wants that piece of the lifestyle that you're constantly talking about. And we want to wrap up with how we structured it to walk outside and enjoy this little stroll here to the patio. And that's really it, guys. I know it might sound a little repetitive at times, but the important parts of this are always be yourself and find your crew to make sure that both the property and the region get advertised so you can convey to your consumers the kind of knowledge and expertise you have in the area that we're putting all this effort in to sell. I've taken us on a lovely walk here into your backyard area. What I want to say is thank you all for kind of coming along with me, right? We're ending on a highlight shot that makes, again, the consumer want to reach out, want to find out more about this beautiful space that I've spent this time talking and guiding you through. Making sure I leverage the video, again, to use on multiple platforms. We're going to jump back now to a live portion of this class. I will have this posted in the recap for you guys to use and kind of think about in a functional sense for what you're putting together yourself. But remember, there's no formula that you need to copy. It's just be informative, make sure you're hitting all the right points, make sure you're coming through clear, and represent yourself and your brand in a way that can come through to the consumer so they know what you're like to work with and why you're the best agent to represent them in Salinas, where we are.
All right, everybody. That is that's the video aspect of it. I am going to open up the floor to any questions about anything that we have gone over in the last 45 minutes. Feel free to type anything into the chat or unmute yourself if you'd like. There's something coming into the chat.
Hey, what's happening, Anuj? I had a quick question for you.
Yes.
I liked your background music was a nice touch. And I'm curious if you can suggest where people might be able to come by royalty-free background music.
Yes. For those of you that have not or aren't in my region, at the beginning, I talked about a YouTube channel that this will be posted to. In that session, in that YouTube channel, I have a class on YouTube 100. The music comes from the audio library that I discuss in that channel. So YouTube actually has and curates a list of royalty-free, well, there are different levels in there of royalty demands by the artists that have submitted music to the YouTube studio. You can specifically filter royalty free and then sort them by length, by mood, by genre, all types of things, and just follow the appropriate crediting instructions that are there with the download. And that's where I got that from.
Thank you, sir.
Matt, I am super glad you are excited to try this. I think the biggest thing I want to emphasize, like I did in that video, is you got to have fun with it. My background is in entertainment and market research, and if there's anything I've learned about consumers is they can tell when something feels like work. If you look like you're working in that, it won't come across exciting for the consumer. I was clearly having a lot of fun making that video, and it comes through. You should enjoy this process. Enjoy your community. Talk about what you love about it. Talk about what you love about the home or about real estate in general, and you'll find the rest of those pieces will fall together. Do you do a live at an open house? So Joseph, for your question, it kind of depends on what the purpose is, right? Like, so that video, for example, was a planned, like if I was doing a planned tour, I would have that video and I would, utilize it as an advertisement for that property. So I would post on my social channels, like, hey, I'm going to be posting a live walkthrough of this home on this date. Check it out on my YouTube channel, but premiering there. And then a week later, I might post it to my Instagram, or later that week to my Facebook, just to make sure that the word gets out about it. If you're doing it live, you have the same pre-planned structure. So I'd have my notes about each room. I'd have all of those things like I talked about in the lecture part available. And then you would conduct the live event and essentially go through that home walkthrough multiple times, unless it was, scheduling individual appointments and you were doing the breakout room thing. So there's different kind of schools of thought of that, but I digress. The general thought process is if you're doing it live, it would be a scheduled event that you would, again, advertise in the exact same way that you would a traditional open house or that video. And then during the event, you'd run through your spiel for, 90 to 120 minutes. And at the end of that live event, you'll get a recording that covers the whole thing. So you can then cut that video once you download it, edit it in whatever editing software you like to use, and then repurpose that edited video in the same way. So a live almost gives you double bang for your buck, because you'll do the live event and you get the traction and the algorithmic boost that comes from a live event. And then you get to do all of the additional marketing for 3 to 4 weeks after the fact with the video. Whereas with the recorded video, it kind of starts right from that get-go. And then you've got whatever you have happening after the fact, because you don't have that initial live event that you're then using to cut down to that tour. Does that answer your question, Joseph? And then Matt has another one here. I haven't gotten one yet, and that's why I wanted to jump into this, be pre-planned. Oh, awesome. Matt, if you do have any questions ahead of what you're doing, feel free to reach out myself or your local field marketing specialist. We're here to help you kind of plan. I think the big thing I also wanted to emphasize through this is this isn't something you want to throw together just like your listing, right? Listing Concierge is built out to be a plan that works as a part of your overall strategy. This is something that is built as a part of that plan to, again, leverage your brand and then jump using all of the good things you're already getting from Coldwell Banker and building on top of them. So things like the marketing collateral that you get from that program, or things like the SEO boost that you get from the additional marketing that'll happen after the fact. Any other questions that I can help with? I will put, a handful of seconds on the clock while I ramble here. In the recap that I send you guys, there will be a link to a brief survey that goes right to my managers, lets them know what you thought about the class and what you thought about me as a marketing specialist. I'm dropping that link right here into the chat. anybody would be so kind as to go in there and leave something, that would be great. I would greatly appreciate it. Am I easy to find on YouTube? Pretty. My name is fairly unique in that way, but I'm linking right to it in the recap that you'll get from me. You'll get that in a little less than an hour once this video recording wraps up, and I can drop that into the recap email that I send. And then all